what I'll do is I will do a recap while we wait for him. There he is. I'll do a recap for Landshark and everyone, and then we'll get started. So last session began at the escape from the Alexis. You escaped Alexis as Eric Collins codes in for the Alexis sign ship to fire off its engines. You get into the shuttle and you get buffeted around and eventually return to the Gambit. When you reach the Gambit, Harm has half the android Pander draped over his shoulders, and Pander makes Harm his new human. Probably something in his coding that he needs a master. That's the way it sounds to Harm, but he kind of downplays that kind of vibe. But it's in Pander's coding, and he tells Harm about his early life as a luxury model that was retooled to become a information gathering for the scientists. Max learns that his progeny had escaped the hold in the aft starboard hold from Mr. Tim, and Oni relives or tells about his beginnings, having had his colony ship destroyed by micrometeorites and being rescued. From that point, Max and Harm go to investigate the aft starboard hold because Mr. Tim can't find the child of Max, really the alien. And Oni goes to the galley and finds brand new muffins baked from somewhere, and he makes coffee and does some de-stress. Max finds the airlock to the hold shut and decides that he's going to open the hold eventually and go down there and investigate what's going on because Mr. Tim can't find the life signs of the alien anymore. So he goes down and closes the airlock, and Harm stays above and waits for him. While he's down there, the alien crawls out of the dilapidated ceiling tiles and attacks Captain Harm. Oni is walking down the gangway with a pot of coffee and muffins in his hand, and combat ensues, and he throws the hot coffee on just as the alien's about to drag Captain Harm up into the ceiling. And Max hears the gunshot, really hears Captain Harm's gunshot as he's leaving and exited the main cargo hold. Max realizes that the alien is incredibly dangerous to the crew, so he tells the crew to secure themselves in the only place that can be blocked off from the host ship, which is the pilot house. So the crew goes to the pilot house, throws both airlock doors, and Max goes to cryo to arm himself and try to hunt down the alien. But as he's in cryo chamber talking to the half of the android Pander, the alien comes slithering out from behind the cryo chamber and wraps itself lovingly around Max. Max decides that in order to protect his humans, he's going to take the alien to the main cargo hold, shut the airlock, and have Mr. Tim blast the front doors. So he goes down to the airlock. He dons an evac suit, wraps himself in the hangar bay netting. The hangar bay is relatively empty, and has Mr. Tim open the bay doors. At this point, the hangar bay decompresses. Everything rushes, all the air rushes out into space as the crew watches on this grainy little black and white video in the pilot house. Max loses his grip, and the alien wraps around him and is holding him and Max through the cargo hold. But eventually the alien can only hold on for so long, and the last thing the crew sees is a little bit of a blip or jitter in the screen, and Max and the alien are out into space. And that's where we ended it. Mostly. That's where we ended it, mostly. So the crew is in the pilot house. Max and the alien has just been sucked out into space. The hangar bay doors are open. Main hangar bay doors are open. Main cargo hangar is open to space itself. They're just looking at this grainy black and white video of the hangar bay, and it's completely still and quiet. Mr. Tim comes over the intercom and says in a relatively flat, quiet voice, "Captains and crew, shall I shut the main hangar bay doors?"
Am I in this picture yet, or
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just
in the.
curious, like
I think you're in
where?
the pilot house with them. I just
Oh,
put you
okay,
together,
okay.
Dr. Rizal.
I was like, where was I during all of this?
We talked about
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That would make the most sense. Go ahead.
And Oni had made a comment about Max's possible survival. Mr.
Um,
Tim, go ahead.
no, Oni is not a tech head. Does not know ship systems, but he probably knows about radar. So he said, "Can we not turn the ship's radar to try to find our android friend?"
So Mr. Tim informs you, if you don't already know, that all evac suits have a little beacon. When you exit into space, that beacon says, "Here I am, here I am, here I am." It lasts maybe, it probably has every 30 seconds, it's sending this little beacon where you are on the exterior of the hull when you're doing a spacewalk. If you lose control and your tether breaks, then it's like, "Come rescue me, come rescue me, come rescue me." It's the same sound, but now evac suits for humans, they're built to let you survive in space, but not live in it. So there's a time frame in which it'll keep you warm and it'll give you oxygen for a period of time, but you're not getting water, you're not getting sustenance, and more than likely the oxygen only lasts probably 24, 36 hours before they expire, suffocate. That beacon is meant for rapid recovery of a person lost. But Mr. Tim does say he's uncertain how long an android would last. If they shut themselves down, eventually they would freeze solid, but you can track the beacon even in the shuttle. Obviously you can't take your big ship and try to, collect them, but you could take the shuttle and track the beacon. Oni,
Is that what you want to do? That sounds like there's still time.
you're muted.
Oh, I'm muted.
No, not you.
Mr. Max did for an android a very unselfish thing. I think we should try to recover him, if nothing but to hear the rest of the story.
Okay, Captain Harm.
We can't go. Who's gonna go on this rescue mission?
I shall go.
I would probably go as well.
Okay, you're going to have to go in the shuttle. All of you will have to be in evac suits because you're going to have to break the seal of the shuttle and tether out there. Tether yourself to the shuttle. And
Can I ask Mr. Tim to steer us in the direction to get us closer?
Yeah,
where the beacon is going.
He could get the giant transport cargo mercenary ship as close as possible within so much of a distance of the beacon itself without creating trouble, and you could load up in the shuttle and attempt to recover the android Max. Okay, so he shuts the bay doors on the hangar, and you guys are going to go to the shuttle, gear up, and locate the android Max's body and attempt the recovery. Max, you're out in space. In a last-ditch moment effort, the alien just completely wraps you up in his tentacles and starts secreting this viscous, see-through liquid. You expect it's the same thing it secreted to make its cocoon or chrysalis that it was in the main hangar bay. It doesn't get a lot done though, because it freezes. It's a life form itself that has flesh, and out in the void of space, it eventually just freezes solid over your body. You can't really see anything because it's all around you. You're enveloped by the alien itself. You hear Mother's voice back there. "This is where I die then, but perhaps our progeny will survive."
If I survive this, I will make sure that this is put to an end.
What do you mean by that, Max? What do you mean by that, Max? Mother says, "We are co-parents. You have brought me from the dead planet."
I brought you from the dead to save the crew, and if these prodigies are a threat to the crew, then they must be exterminated, just as you were.
You feel this electric shock really probably down your limbs as you're kind of stuck there, and Mother goes completely quiet in your mind. Do you say anything else?
No, Max is just going to kind of regret the fact that there wasn't a better way to save Ace.
He arrived just a little bit too late. So the crew enters the shuttle, and Mr. Tim comes on the intercom as you're putting on your evac suit helmet. "Good luck, captains and crew. Return Captain Max to us." And you climb into the shuttle, and follow the beacon, really. You have a viewport in the shuttle, the small spiral shuttle that you're keeping, and it's easy to follow. You see what you consider as Max, but it's really this frozen tentacled alien where the beacon is from. You can't see Max at all. You just see the alien or the frozen bit of alien as you drift the shuttle towards Max. You know you have to break the opening or the airlock. You're all in evac suits, and the cycle of the airlock opens up. You're in space without gravity. All of you are in evac suits. Who's going to make the jump?
Are we aware? I mean, we have visual now on Max.
Yeah, you could just, well, you can't see Max itself. You just know the beacon there, but the alien, all you see is like a frozen tentacled alien wrapped up in this kind of oblong ellipse. You know the beacon is coming from the center of it, but you can't really see Max. I imagine if you look really closely, maybe you see a foot sticking out, just one leg, or that sort of thing. But the alien had completely wrapped around.
Like maybe a hand waving at us. Oni turns to the others. So is it just two of us or all of us in the shuttle?
I think you all went, right?
I thought I stayed with in the pilot house to help make sure that we got closer.
Okay. So you're directing from the pilot house, Dr. Rizal, and
Yeah.
Oni and Captain Harmer in the shuttle.
I'll go. Rescue crew. Do we have confirmation? Visual confirmation?
Yes.
Well, are you gonna go get him?
I'll jump out to after.
All right.
them,
So
go
what I
get
would
him and-
do is have Dr. Rizal roll an intellect check. You're given guidance, perhaps positioning guidance in the pilot house, trying to help out with the sensors and computer system and direct visualizations. Mr. Tim's nattering in your ear.
Can I argue for a plus military training? It sounds like something like geolocating.
Yeah, I would think so. Like military training probably includes
And like some
Sudden
sense of like
sudden piloting of a vessel, sudden taking over of a mechanical thing because whoever was supposed to do that is dead, that sort of thing. I would let you use military training.
Well, good luck, guys.
All right.
Still no good.
How do you think Dr. Rizal fails in this moment? What complication happens to the
When
crew?
I think as Dr. Rizal is trying to triangulate where the possible trajectory is, he's relying upon the comms that he receives from the rescue team, and I think not getting the information, not having seeded himself, the information is kind of skewed and off. So he's doing the best that he can with the information that he received, and yeah, it just didn't work out.
So in other words, you're blaming us.
That's what scientists do.
The facts of the matter all come out. So go
My
ahead.
my algorithm isn't wrong. The information I received was wrong.
Garbage in, garbage out. Yes. Dr. Rizzo, we have some complication though. There seems to be some kind of mucus formation that I would guess is the alien trying to save itself.
Would I be able to use any of my skills like exobiology to try to understand what the alien is trying to do, and maybe there's a way that we can extricate it from Max?
I'm sure. I don't think you really need a roll for it.
Okay.
I think that Dr. Rizal would have heard about the chrysalis that's formed, this filamentous, filigree kind of slightly opaque but mostly see-through chrysalis that the alien had created in the hold during hyperspace. Like it was this hyperspace sleeping hangar or whatever, it created this chrysalis, and that it secretes this substance that hardens, and that it probably had done the same. Dr. Rizal would know that you could thaw it out or chip him out, but it probably just needs warmth to eventually get to the center.
Okay. So Oni, the alien seems to be forming a shell around itself to preserve. You need to bring along with you either something that heats up or something that you can chip away at it. Please look around your vicinity and take with you the proper implements to excise the android.
Oni looks over at Harm. But what is on the shuttle?
You probably brought normal gear. There's probably a fire axe, like you would normally have with a spike. If you ever had to exit rapidly or crash land and had to cut yourself out. There's tethers, which Captain Harm is de-clipping to the edge of the hull. Click, so it's got this long tether that Captain Harm's gonna like float out to try to get them, and then Oni's gonna pull him back. And so the biggest thing you probably have in there is basic tools,
Cutters,
cutters, and then a fire axe, axe on one side, spike on the other.
because there's a lot of wood that we need an axe to go through.
Metal, it'll go through metal, coming out the front windshield, electrical things. So Captain Harm, you're going to dive out to try to collect Captain Max.
Go, Harm, go!
I'm trying to think of which one would make more sense, the clippers or the axe.
Bring them both.
Do the suits have like a belt or something that I could like put one of them in so I like can actually drag Max back with me?
Yeah, I imagine they do have either like clips on the back or clips around the side and up the side where you would clip, different tools on it. If evac suits were made to go out, you would probably, if there was a tool belt that you would carry, because you also don't want those sharp instruments to go through your evac suit anyways.
Yeah, that's true. So I'll kind of just strap them on.
Okay.
Probably
Go
have
out
like
with it.
Velcro, big Velcro patches that you just.
Now, actually, Dr. Resolve, well, because of the way you didn't listen to his directions, you're moving a little bit too fast. You're drifting a little bit further than you expect. You see what is of Max as you get ready to, or the group of Maxes you are going to vault out to grab him. And that puts you at a slight disadvantage. So what I would have you do is roll speed and whatever skill you think it would work.
Oh, can I make an assist because I'm also there and trying to monitor?
Sure you can. What do you think you would do?
Just provide my eyeball guidance. Say, no, to the left. No, more to the left. No, you're going too fast.
Sure, make intellect at disadvantage.
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, if whether I can contribute.
Right. Whether you contribute or not. Or see if you give Captain Harm advantage. Yeah, Captain Harm.
Wrong
Oni
advice.
is,
Don't listen to me.
Oni is just shouting at you, a little to the left, little jump now. Wait, we're in a roll. And just, going off. You hear him through the intercom of your helmet, this tinny voice that's a few thresholds above Oni as you get ready to make the jump. But he doesn't give you any benefits. So you just have to make that speed check and maybe.
Would athletics be?
Yeah, I think athletics would be the
Good.
best one.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to make sure because I was like, that seems like it would fit the best because wilderness survival does not seem like it would.
Wow.
Exact one.
Is that like a magical success?
I see you just you just vault out there. It's like ballet in 0G. And I see you flick your legs out a little bit and just kind of land on them, just grab them, and you're just kind of standing there on this mass that is a frozen alien and Max. Max probably feels it from the inside, and as you get closer, Captain Harm, your short range radio connects or comms connects to Captain Max on the inside. It's a little bit too far until you made that jump, and now you're within contact because he's covered by this chitinous layer of frozen alien. What do you do?
Well, I'm assuming this thing is dead because it's frozen, but I'm trying to think of what I do.
I believe Dr. Rizal said it was trying to preserve itself. But that's
Well, you never know. I'm kind of
It was trying to preserve
Jumping
Max, really.
Well, I guess either way, Harm probably wouldn't know that. I guess I'll probably ask Max if he's all right and if he's gotten contact with Mother at any point since this whole debacle has begun.
Now, I can't remember. Captain Harm knows about Oh yeah, Max did tell Captain
Yeah,
Harm
because
about
Max
Mother.
told
Right.
the last session.
So Max, you hear Captain Harm's voice all of a sudden, you can't see anything. The light that transluminates through the what's left of the alien, and maybe the chitinous shell it was trying to produce is gray. You don't feel much, then all of a sudden your comms crackle and you hear Captain Harm. What does Captain Max do?
Harm, is that you? The ship. You got to get back to the ship.
Is there a particular reason why I need to get back to the ship? The ship itself is safe. We
Mother-
brought the shuttle.
There's eggs.
Realistically, Harm would know that he means the alien eggs, but for some reason my automatic thought was chicken eggs, and I was like, that makes sense. But
Well, someone was baking, so there's got to be eggs somewhere.
yes, yeah, that's true. I guess I still have contact with Dr. Azal, don't I?
Yeah, you have stronger contact with, Oni, and, kind of a leapfrog way. Oni's Captain Rizal's contact is linked to the ship, but it's, but you guys could talk back and forth,
Okay.
Did you ask Dr. Rizal a question, or?
No, the reason why I asked was because I wanted to kind of relay the message that there are eggs once on the ship at some point. So that's why I wanted to ask.
What do you say to Oni then?
I got contact with Max. He says there are eggs on the ship.
Oh, not chicken eggs?
Well, I'm assuming chicken eggs. Xander, I swear to God, I will.
So Oni,
Do I hear this too, or is it just short range?
right?
Comms?
Oni, you get this message from Harm that there's eggs on board, meaning alien eggs of some nature. It sounds like it. How do you relay that? What do you say to Captain Rizal? I mean, Dr. Rizal.
Dr. Rizal, there is news. There are eggs on board the ship still that may need to be dealt with. Can you do that yourself?
Eggs still on the ship? Where?
I will get back to you.
Mr. Tim says, Dr. Rizal, what are they talking about?
They're talking about more visitors. Listen, Mr. Tim, I need you to keep an eye on the crew out there and make sure you don't kill them. I have to go investigate this egg situation.
All right. What does Dr. Rizal do? Be careful, Dr. Rizal. I don't have to check any life terms, but
okay, that's good to know. Where was Max found? Where was Harm attacked last?
outside the aft starboard hold, all the way in the aft part of the ship, there's two holds, starboard and port. Usually they're for water transport all the way after the ship. That's where Captain Max had put the alien in the aft starboard hold.
Okay. Given where it was attacked, given where Harm was attacked, I would figure Dr. Rizal would figure, kind of have a better hunch of, probably better than I of where they would be. But I'm thinking that maybe they made a nest somewhere around where the water was at, being it's like kind of it's a mucousy, wet nature.
Okay.
So I'll start there.
All right.
Inform the crew when they get back that I'll be looking on an egg hunt.
So Dr. Rizal leaves the pilot house and transits aft towards the aft starboard hold.
Dr. Rizal, bring heat. Heat is the aliens respond negatively to heat.
Yes. Good. Thanks, Oni.
Out of character.
Bring the android back and hurry back. There's probably more eggs than I can handle.
Out of
With that,
character.
I pull out my vibro knife.
Out of character, I did drop. Max did drop a whole bag of weapons and stuff by the cryo bay. I don't know if you would see that just going around the ship or not, but
Dr. Rizal goes right by cryo. It no longer has an airlock because that airlock has been taken off for reasons and he probably sees the bag of weapons there just inside the door as you drop it. Whether he takes them is kind of up to him or not.
Yeah, I kind of figure we're talking about eggs, maybe he would take it. What is there? I think he's looking for anything that he could do to take care of eggs.
There's a couple grenades, and there's a shotgun, and there's I tell you, and there's a submachine gun, armor 20 submachine gun. So there's shotgun, submachine gun, a couple grenades. He just grabbed a whole bunch of stuff in there, and there's probably a couple slug revolvers thrown into that bag, big canvas bag.
Okay.
You take the whole bag, or you just take something?
Well, I figure it's gonna be a nest of some kind, and worst case, just pop a couple of grenades in there.
All right. So you grab a few grenades. They're triangular in shape, and there's a few that are just square, and there's a couple hexagonal. You have no idea what grenade is what grenade. Well, you have military training, so I figure you do know your grenade types, and you pocket a few grenades as you go aft towards the aft starboard hold. Captain Harm, you're out in space, tethered to the shuttle. You look back along the long line of the tether. You could see Oni silhouetted in the door of the shuttle itself. You're probably 50 yards or 50 meters out. That's how long that tether is, holding on to this mass of frozen goo in which is encased Captain Max. What does Harm do?
I'll probably try to find like a weak point to attempt to get Max out.
You're gonna try to hack him out?
If there's like a point where I could actually like get to like that's somewhat easier to attempt to hack him out, yes.
Okay, make a flat intellect check, and this will just be a bonus. If you make it, it'll give you advantage on your attack to the chrysalis. Trying to prevent Max from taking damage from however you're going to do that.
Understandable. I don't think any of would wilderness survival work in this, because it's
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm trying to get any bonus I can for this.
There's no wilderness in space.
Well, I figured wilderness in terms of like wilderness, like animal or alien related.
Like skinning or dissecting?
No.
Or just the use of the axe itself.
That's what I was about to say. Use of the axe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, give her a break.
Sure. Go ahead.
We can get.
Here's what happens. You can do one of two things. If you use wilderness survival on your search for a good spot, you can't use wilderness survival when you attack that spot.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll use wilderness survival to actually attack the spot, because I feel like that gives me a little bit of a better chance of not actually hurting Max in the process.
Maybe you use military training for this one, so I would roll that intellect with military training. See if you give yourself a little bonus or advantage. Really, is what I'm going to give you. Oh, look at that! So you find like lines and areas where the tentacles are kind of open, and you see Max's body through there, and you realize if you stick the axe in there or hit right there and maybe pry it out, you'll be able to crack some of that carapace and free Max enough to you don't have to haul the whole mass back which will make it far easier when Oni tries to hand over hand you.
Yeah.
So make a strength roll plus your wilderness survival. It's really strength rather than combat necessarily.
So plus wilderness survival for that.
Right.
Okay.
If you're successful, Max won't take damage. If you're not, then just barely.
Yeah, exactly. Just barely. Just enough.
How do you do that? How do you lever him out of there? What does it look like?
I guess kind of to start, just kind of prod it, and then just be kind of look a little bit weirdly at it, and just kind of just try and lever the axe underneath, and just
Harm cracks off pieces of it using the axe as a lever, and miraculously doesn't injure Captain Max underneath there, because it's easy for that axe to slip and cut through his evac suit, which would be terrible. And eventually Harm frees him of this chitinous kind of carapace and frees him up. What happens, Harm? What do you do as you freeze him? Free him up.
I guess I'll kind of just... Does he do I have a clip to also clip him to my evac suit, or is there a way I can connect him to the other thing as well? I'm asking people try to figure this out, how to do it other than just kind of weirdly fireman carry him kind of thing.
You realize that you don't want to let go of him, and you'd have to hold on to him. which could be difficult. So you could take your tether off out of your D clip and feed it through each one through your D clip and his D clip, so you're both attached together, so that you wouldn't lose Max in process. Which is what you do. You kind of secure yourself together to that, and you're gonna go back towards the ship. Max, as you get freed from that in space, what do you say?
Harm, what the ship? Were you not? You have to get to the ship.
Dr. Rizal, in his own way, will handle it, I'm sure. But
You see him
also,
holding grenades. It's kind of like you see Anchorman with the brick and the grenade.
as much as I appreciate you trying to help us this way, I feel you can also help us with this as well.
Thank you for saving me the way I could not save Ace. But we have to get back to the ship. We cannot take the ship anywhere that is populated till we resolve this matter.
All right, then we won't.
Okay. So Oni, you help them return to the ship. You're going hand over hand, and maybe Captain Harm is pulling at the same time. The tether is strong enough for you to pull. As Harm and Max regain the ship, what does Oni say as they recover the android Max?
Max, Android Max, I am in touch with Dr. Rizal. How many eggs are there?
Mother, she did not say. I can only assure you that they are on the ship. They may be in the starboard aft. I don't know.
Dr. Rizal, do you copy?
Dr. Rizal is walking aft. You're at the starboard aft. You're at the aft starboard hole, the airlock. I assume you open and go down into it. You open the starboard aft, and the walkway is above. It's like at the top roof of the holds, because they're water holds. And you go down the ladder well. The hold is empty at the moment. You got like a light and, grenades, and you walk towards the forward end of the hold, and you look up into the corner, and you see this filigree, sparkling, somewhat clearly iridescent cocoon, really, that's 10 feet or 3 meters in length. The center of it has been broken out. It's above you, in the hold itself. There's eyelets in the hold, where they tie down cargo if they use the aft holds for cargo itself. And so they got these little paddock or little eyelets, in different parts of the wall. But it's up above you, maybe 9 feet, 3 meters. You don't see anything in the chrysalis itself. You hear some chattering in your comm unit that's a little bit staticky, which is expected because, well, it should be clear, but you are on the Bishop Gambit and things don't work right. What does Dr. Rizal do as he's looking up at this chrysalis?
I kind of like open up my comms. I don't know if you can hear me, but the eggs have hatched.
Now, Captain Rizal would know that the only thing that was the giant chrysalis for the alien that Max took out. I don't think he would figure that that's the eggs have hatched themselves. He has just found he has just found where the alien kind of strung its cot, really, or made this chrysalis to survive hyperspace. And then once the ship ejected from hyperspace, it came out.
So it's not the eggs per se.
No, not that he knows. He could climb up there and look.
I'm just thinking about checking a grenade in there, but I don't think that's what his character would do. If it was Ace, he'd throw it. Wouldn't even think a second about it.
Light it up with a submachine gun.
Yeah. Well, then I kind of retcon my comment. Is like I found its living quarters, or where it was last. So I think I don't hear anything in my vicinity.
Nope, it's dead quiet aside from the normal ship sounds, a low cycle 60 hertz hum, creaking and groaning.
Well, let's go take a closer look. Being a scientist, I figure he's curious.
So you climb up there, finger hold by finger hold into the paddock eyes, and lever yourself over the edge and look into the chrysalis itself. It's beautiful, shimmers in your light. Your light hits it, and these little runs of color go through the filaments that are clear mostly, like hardened mucus that's filigreed throughout. You look inside there and see nothing.
No remnants, no nothing.
Nothing.
Crap. All right. I kind of yell back into my comms. Found what looks to be the quarters. No eggs as of yet. The search continues.
Where
And I
does
guess I'll
go ahead?
yeah. I guess I'll just search the vicinity for any clues where it could be based off of where it places its nest. Do we have anything that's similar like this? Or that's suitable for a nest?
You
On the
only
ship.
know that the alien had escaped the aft starboard hold, probably by the ceiling air conduit high above your head, which you can't reach, and then transited that air conduit that's throughout the ships and attacked Captain Harm coming through the ceiling right outside the airlock door.
So I'll use the AI as we will soon in our future. Mr. Tim, the air conduits that this connects to. What are the adjacent rooms?
Port starboard hold, port aft hold, and forward is cryo chamber. Aft is engineering.
I would figure,
Go ahead.
yeah, I would figure anyone making a nest would probably want to do it near a food source. I would go to cryo chamber.
Okay, so you climb out of the aft starboard hold as the ship shuttle is returning. Oni, you were going to say something?
I'm not partial to any of the communication between Dr. Rizal and Tim.
No, not really. That's
Okay.
intership comms. So Dr. Rizal makes a search of the aft starboard hold, finds the chrysalis, but doesn't really find any evidence of any sort of eggs. Is concerned that perhaps it's in the ducting or somewhere near cryo where would be recent, and climbs back out, shuts the hold, shuts the airlock. The shuttle returns to the ship. You close the shuttle's door and eventually repressurize the shuttle so you don't have to wear your evac suit the whole way. Captain Max, Captain Harm, and Oni return to the ship. The Spider shuttle gratingly connects because it's a offhand shade mechanic connection with the airlock, and eventually you hear a little ding that you have positive connection, and Mr. Tim's voice comes on the intercom eventually as the ship is reconnected. Have you recovered, Captain Max?
It appears so.
Dr. Rizal is in the aft starboard hold searching for some sort of eggs. What do you all do as you reconnect with the ship?
So Max is going to immediately get up and ask Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim, well, let me ask this out of question, I guess, first. Is there any way, because I know it's kind of a jerry-rigged ship, he wouldn't have any way to pick up any kind of thermal readings, maybe?
He could surely search, Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim says. You know that he can detect life forms. You imagine it's from thermal readings.
Kinda, I guess.
Mostly, changes in temperature readings on a ship like this would make the most sense. Infrared kind of detection, or actually visual detection with the janky video cameras throughout the ship, unless it's in a dark spot. And so you probably figure it's both electromagnetic wavelength, heat sensitive, and audio type of things. You know that Mr. Tim told the crew about the hyperspace radars from visual in the cargo bay, as opposed to that. And then, that detection fluctuated. First there was 3, then there was 7, then there was 5, then there was 1. Mr. Tim detects no other life forms besides yourself, Oni, Captain Harm, Dr. Rizal, and Eric Collins, who's somewhere aft.
Mr. Tim, I know that it doesn't like heat. What are some of the coldest spots on the ship?
Outside the hangar bays. The hangar bays would be the coldest spot. The crew quarters and cryo and engineering would be the warmest. But obviously the hangar bays would be the coldest because you wouldn't waste energy to heat them. And that would be the most common places. Engineering would be the hottest by the engines. Just the coolant areas, cryo and crew chambers, galley, they would be the warmest because people of flesh and blood have to have it a certain temperature.
Dr. Resolve, maybe start checking hangars anywhere that isn't heated.
Max, good to have you back.
It's good.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way to Cryo right now to investigate possible nest in that area. Perhaps you'd like to check out the other spaces.
Yes, I'm gonna start checking hangar bays and anywhere like that. That's cold. It doesn't like heat.
Okay. So the crew of the Gambit makes a rapid and energized search of the ship in the cold and hot spaces and find absolutely nothing. Dr. Rizal goes into cryo. It's a nice warm space. He knows there's others in cryo that he's seen through the viewport. He looks around cryo and he notices a vent that's been busted out, probably when the alien regrouped with Android Max, crawled through that vent. The rest of the crew spread out or stay together. Go to all the cold places. Go to the main hangar. Go back to the starboard aft hangar. Go to the engineering. Go to the rescue pod, which probably wouldn't work if you tried to rescue yourself. It would be the coldest place on ship, and open up that airlock and you search the visible area of the ship and do not find anything that you think are eggs. You regroup maybe in the galley or the cryo. If it's in the galley, it still smells like fresh muffins. If it's in cryo, it's in cryo, and you've found nothing.
So, Max, you said that it likes the coldness.
I am purely making an observation. I don't know for sure, but if it doesn't like heat, then maybe it would lay eggs somewhere cold or damp. Maybe I'm not 100%.
Mr. Tim, have we searched every compartment on the ship?
Affirmative, Dr. Rizal. I have watched you search everywhere, except for perhaps the ducting, but all visible locations have been searched once or twice or 3 times. Sometimes more than one person has searched the same place and the same area, but have found nothing. I myself have done scans, and aside from the live crew members and those in cryo, I have no signature of any warmth, any hot spots, any cold spots. I myself have not found anything. This is very distressing for me.
In the ship.
In the ship.
What about on the ship?
As an exobiologist, Dr. Rizal would probably know that a life form's eggs couldn't really survive, at least this life form's eggs couldn't survive the cold of space.
That was a joke, Mr. Tim.
Mr. Jim goes,
That's a good idea, though.
damn it, Dr. Rizal. You got me on that one. Ha, ha, ha.
Dr. Resolve, you may be onto something. What about the maintenance shafts that run between the hulls? You have to repair the hulls somehow, and they would be cold since they would be right against the space.
The bulkhead.
Mr. Tim says those shafts can be sealed. Shall I seal them, Captain Max? Or is someone going to crawl through all those places?
Out of game, I'm worried that something's going to happen and we're going to have a breach, and someone's going to have to go in there and find it. But that would be the easiest solution to the current possible problem if it's in there, or if they're in there.
So, how about out of character? How about we meet halfway? Since we can seal them, we could seal and compartmentalize the search, and kind of look in compartment by compartment, so that way it can't come at us at all sides. Or if there was a breach, we would know where they would be coming at us from.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
Okay. Mr. Tim says, crew and captains, is the plan still to transit to comm buoy or Siesta 3 to send message to the Nakatomi Corp in order to hand over the artifacts?
We can't risk this getting out of the ship, but
Okay.
if we can isolate it, maybe we can get somewhere where we at least have, well, y'all have food and water and the proper necessities and fuel.
Fuel. Oh, yes, I should let the crew know that we only have 0.5 of a fuel cell left, which means we have a 93% chance of making it to the comm buoy without failure, and about a 7% chance of making it to Siesta 3.
Can we get fuel from the comm buoy?
Uncertain. The GreenStar comm buoy was decommissioned given the internecine war between Nakatomi Corp and GreenStar, the comm buoy still functions as a communications port and was a refueling station, but I am uncertain whether it will have fuel.
That sound
Communications will still work, but
Gentlemen, one thing at a time. We must cross this hurdle first. Mr. Tim, can these Jeffries tubes, going Trekkie wise, can these Jeffries tubes be purged to the outside space, yet maintain their closure to the inner spaces of the ship?
usually, Oni,
Usually. What does
yes.
that mean, Mr. Tim?
Well, the Bishop Gambit has some peculiarities regarding its structural integrity. I anticipate the likelihood of hull breach if we purge the system to be somewhere between 78. Oh no, the likelihood of maintaining hull integrity and no breach somewhere to between 78 and 93%. It seems reasonable. It's more than 3/4 of a flip of a coin.
if you're thinking about it, Oni, that's not a good idea.
I leave it up to the captains of the ship. I just thought it may be a possibility.
It is. It's a the risk is that the ship, the Bishop Gambit, has some sort of hull breach, which would be survivable at the pilot house, but you'd have to deal with it later. Mr. Tim's calculation has a pretty broad likelihood of it working, somewhere between 78 and 93%. He's got a bit of wiggle room there, though.
Yes. But Mr. Tim, are there no sensors in the Jeffries tubes?
The question: there are sensors, Mr. Oni. It would tell us if we breached.
So, but no sensors that would tell us about a nest or alien.
No. He's used those sensors to kind of look for heat signatures, cold signatures, movements. There's no video cameras in those, but there are sensors that also do oxygen tension, to tell if there's actually a leak.
Or metabolism.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And so he doesn't find anything that's in those tubes at the moment, the inter-hull tubes.
The question is, gentlemen, gentlemen captains, do we need to go and root this nest out? And do we do it one by one and take different paths?
Most assuredly, we don't want one, let alone dozens or however many of these things have produced to be running around the ship.
Okay, Captain Harm, you're in agreement?
I think if there's obviously we have like a boatload of stuff that the Gambit needs fixed. So if there's a decent chance that we'll survive this, then sure.
Okay, so we're cut to the chase. If you cordon off each shaft and you do a quadrant search, Dr. Rizal, Oni, Captain Harm, Captain Max, you take your turns crawling through these tiny little spaces that open up into big spaces. You make 1 or 2 circuits of the same areas. They're all interconnected like this maze. Sometimes you get lost and you hyperventilate and it's cold and you hear sounds and you think, oh my God, there's an alien. You search that whole darn ship. Maybe you take a day, maybe you take 2 days, however long it takes, and you don't find anything. You're certain that you've searched every void, dark place, weird hold. You even climbed into the contraband hold. You've searched over and over, as people would probably do. They've searched it twice or 3 times and ask each other, are you sure? And you go back in and someone else searches and you don't find anything.
Yeah, I kind of pull Harm to the side, away from the Max, and I look at our Harm and I'm like, are we certain on his judgment? Is he okay?
I have been with him since we came aboard this ship. I have no reason to not trust him at this point.
And then okay, from there, I guess I'll just walk over to Max. I'm like, are you certain there are eggs on this ship? I've been on my hands and knees crawling through these ducts for days.
How big might these eggs be? They may be tiny eggs, or they may be big eggs. Does anyone know?
Dr. Rizal can make an exobiology roll if you like.
Yes, let's just do that.
For egg size.
So the alien that took Android Max outside was in fact the creature that laid these eggs?
Yes,
No good.
we got into a problem, and the only way that I could save the crew was to let Mother in, I think, via the artifact. When I touched the artifact, everything come to light, and it's like we were one. We shared the same mind. I don't know how to explain it.
Can you talk to her right now?
What was the name of the ship we boarded? I keep forgetting.
Alexis.
Alexis. When I boarded the Alexis, it's like Mother went black. I couldn't communicate with her, and she was gone for a while until I got into the hangar bay and jettisoned myself into space. Then she came back and said something about, well, good thing my prodigy will live on. Our prodigy will live on. And I is there any way we could possibly X-ray me?
Yeah, I was about to say.
I was just about
I was
to
about to
say
say,
that too.
strip.
He's probably like, why are y'all? Can we just get over the eggs?
All of a sudden, we all look at Max. It's like, oh my god, he's
It's like,
carrying
are you expecting?
Dr. Reed, Dr.
Yet have I?
No.
He's already looking at you with a glint in his eyes. He's got the vibro knifer.
Dr. Rizal knows the eggs would be anywhere from like this big to like this big, and they'd probably be in a cluster. That's all he knows. Like most organisms of this nature don't lay singles. They're not like humans who gestate. They roll a bunches of it, which somewhat makes sense when Max relived Mother's life, that he kind of saw this clutch behavior, the survival of the fittest out of a group of new hatchlings, and most of them, you know, frog-like, would have like a bunch of them all strung out together. He doesn't know exactly what size it is, and that's what he knows. So, Max, you're worried about them being inside you. What do you suggest?
I know, as being an android, I don't have a body temperature, so it would make theoretical sense. I'm not 100% sure, but we need to get somewhere where we can do a proper X-ray or something of that nature. So we have to go, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have to go to Nakatomi. What was it?
So there's two destinations that you potentially
Nakatomi?
can. Yeah, there's two destinations you can potentially get to with the available fuel. You were planning to go to the comm buoy, GreenStar comm buoy, which has a fair chance of success, about 93% likelihood with the available fuel cell, because your fuel cells have been depleted by your attachment to the Lexus, and so you could make it to the comm buoy. You were going to go to the comm buoy to communicate with send a message to Nakatomi Corporation to do the handoff of the artifacts, receive your pay, hand off to the artifacts, do a handoff. That's what you had planned to. The other destination is Siesta 3, which is used to be a GreenStar automated station. It's got medical, fuel, transit, repair, that sort of thing. But Mr. Tim tells you that Siesta 3 is no longer under GreenStar control. In fact, it's known as the anarchist commune of pirates and artists and hackers and teamsters. And in certain parts of space, it's known to have been taken over from GreenStar and created this autonomous zone of that sort of environment. GreenStar hasn't caught on to the fact that they've lost the station. The problem, Mr. Tim tells you, is that the likelihood of reaching Siesta 3 on the present fuel cell is only about 7%.
I was about to say, out of character, that sounds like an Eric Collins problem. They're like, well, Eric Collins, is all up to you.
He says, Mr. Tim says, if you don't go into cryo and everyone stays awake, it is 3 days to the comm buoy, and your likelihood of success reaching it on present fuel cell is roughly 97 to 98%. If you attempt to go to Siesta 3 and don't sleep the 7-day passage, your likelihood of reaching it before running out of fuel in the hyperspace lane is about 11%.
Maybe the comm buoy, we tell Nakatomi that we have the artifact. Hopefully, I'm assuming they would bring a ship with substantial supplies and everything. Maybe they would be kind enough to let us use their medical bay. In the meantime, even though I guess cryo sleep won't work on me, but maybe, just maybe, if they are inside of me, the cryo will freeze the stasis, and if anything happens, y'all can take me out of cryo if they do happen to be on the ship. Since for with the alien, it won't harm me, so maybe I can try to save y'all if they do hatch in the ship somewhere.
Android Max, do you have a self-diagnostic routine?
I do. I've run it, and nothing seems to be out of the ordinary. But Mr. Tim couldn't pick up the previous alien on any sensors.
Ah.
And then it showed up.
Mr. Tim, why was it that you were not able to detect the alien entity?
Mr. Tim gives a verbal kind of shrug. It was there, Oni. It was in the hangar bay, and then it was no longer in the hangar bay. I cannot explain it. I had a heat signature, but it was like it camouflaged itself.
Ooh.
And which makes sense for the people who came up out of the Epsilon 6, 7, Epsilon 7, the planet. The alien that came with Max had sucked itself into a small area and almost taken the complete coloration where you could barely see it, if you remember. And Eric Collins noticed it, told Max to tell it to stop doing that because he didn't like it being invisible to such an extent.
So it would seem possible these eggs may also have some kind of cloaking ability.
You don't
Dr.
expect
Rizzo?
that.
No?
Dr. Rizzo wouldn't think that they would be able to do that. Only a living specimen.
Yeah, they're still gestating. They don't have that ability yet.
Like an octopus changing colors. So the plan is to go to comm buoy and put Captain Max in cryo.
Oni has no other suggestion other than vibroblading him apart.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Since he's not here.
Let's eat the elephant in the room. And
Let's wait on the cutting Max open bit until we can figure out if he's actually
you see Dr. like, aw.
All right. So Max goes into cryo, perhaps to freeze them or do something. You settle them in cryo. You pull the cryo hood, coffin top closed.
Is there a setting like from 0 to 10?
No.
Maybe 7 to 11 then.
Oddly enough, all it does for Max is it doesn't automatically intubate him and put an IV line because he doesn't need that. It just fills with this viscous fluid and drops his temperature down. It doesn't freeze you all either. It just drops your core body temperature so low that, your heart beats maybe once every 4, 5, 6 minutes because of the anesthesia and the rest of the stuff. You all stay awake as you put Captain Max into cryo. Little lights flash as Mr. Tim says, entering hyperspace in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, crap. I forgot about those.
Dr. Rizal, you guys had emergently ejected hyperspace to get away from the Brotherhood of the Void. These hyperspace raiders, they had found you hiding in your triangular hold. And what did they say to you?
I said, have a safe voyage. I'm pretty sure that's what they said.
Right.
Bon voyage.
We will hunt you from everywhere in a hyperspace. You are now enemies. So as you enter hyperspace, there's a percentage chance that the hyperspace raiders are waiting for you. Dr. Rizal, since you're the one they found and told you that you would be hunted every time you entered hyperspace, roll me a D100.
This is probably not going to be good.
It's
Good luck,
about
guys.
15 to 20% chance they find you.
That would be under 15 or 20.
So somewhere in hyperspace, you kind of fade to black, and somewhere in hyperspace, you see this figure standing before essentially like a periscope. The green light is reflecting off her forehead. She's got her goggles up on top of her head, and her mask is off because she hates wearing that mask all the time. It gives her headache. And she's looking into the goggles, the hyperspace, the periscope sensor, and this little light comes on. You see it blink, and she turns her face, and that green blinking illuminates her face in this kind of pulsating nature. She turns all the way sideways, and this little curl of red hair is down inside her goggles, and another figure kind of appears out of the gloom. and says, "Captain, the men and women are ready. Whenever their ship appears, we will be ready to strike." And this woman, young woman, probably in her late 20s, early 30s, given her face in these bright blue eyes and this red curl of hair, looks at him and says, "Commander, the ship has not been detected. Keep the men and women on standby, and if I shall see them, then I will give the order." And he like salutes and bows to her, "As you say, Captain," and does this brisk about face and turns around and walks away. She waits there for a while, her blue eyes watching him, probably to a count of 10 or 15, and then she turns back to the periscope and she says, "Damn it, Gambit, Mother, what are you up to?" And you guys fade to black. You transit hyperspace, and non-androids who transit hyperspace, the reason they go into cryo is that it is exceedingly difficult and complicated for them. Their senses go awry. Sometimes they feel their body is 3 feet in front of them, 3 feet in back of them. They have these moments that are disconnected in time. Dr. Rizal may sit down next to Oni and start a conversation, but Oni doesn't hear the words for 30 or 45 seconds, as if his auditory cortex is delayed from his visual cortex. And you have this temporal discontinuity throughout this whole 3-day transit that just wears on you and wears on you. But it's only 3 days. And so what I would like everyone to do is to make a sanity roll, except for Max, who's in cryo. Androids never have to do this because they're androids.
Dang it.
Woo!
Somehow I managed to get less than my sanity, which is 17. So
My
Right.
sanity is my highest roll too.
So Oni will, as he enters his cryo sleep, he will say his litany against fear, and
You're gonna go in cryo then, Oni, or you're gonna stay up?
I thought we were all going into cryo because of the hyper.
You
No,
don't
no.
have to. The reason you didn't go in cryo is because Mr. Tim told you had a greater success rate of reaching there without any problems. And I assumed you weren't going into cryo because you didn't want anything to happen while everyone was asleep.
But
you could go.
asking if his prayer will assist with this role.
I think theology would may help with hyperspace transit. Your sanity is so high to begin with.
Not that high.
So,
Not that high.
Dr. Rizal and Oni, you're transiting hyperspace for those 3 days, and things just go awry. Your senses you can't trust. Eyesight goes from color to hypercolor to gray and black to pixelated. Noise and sounds are discontinuous at times, or high pitched. Dr. Rizal, as a doctor with exobiology and advanced science training, how come this affects you, or how does that affect you? Why do you fail? And
I think let's do it like this. So I think Oni and Dr. Rizal have many conversations throughout this transit about science and God and theology, where we
And
try
where
to
they meet.
convince,
And where they meet.
and where they meet or they don't or whatever, and it just that combined, going against a man of science versus a kind of like man of God, like I think we just end up, maybe convincing each other of the other side,
Having
and
an,
maybe the
and having
possibility
an
that there
existential
is
crisis.
a God, or the possibility that there isn't a God, and we just kind of like talk each other in circles, and we just kind of like, go
The
deep into
duality of man.
yeah.
so, Oni, you think you kind of have like existential crisis as you transit
Yeah.
this hyperspace?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. Now, Harm, you're like stout,
Maybe Harm's just sitting there, like not really paying attention to like we're like having this conversation at above what Harm can understand.
but he finds it very amusing, and he's just like next to Prander, just being like, "Okay, this is entertainment for the next couple days. We're fine."
Or maybe he's just watching
legs.
us go at it and just having a kick out of it. Yeah.
Prander has no legs, and you lift him up on, and you're watching this. Maybe it is humor that gets to you, Harm. Maybe that's how you like make it through this whole hyperspace, watching these two scientists that, for some reason, as a Marine, it's humorous to you to watch them argue back and forth, even if some of those words you can't spell. But it's funny. You come out of it swinging, like they're still maybe arguing back and forth and don't recognize when Mr. Tim says exiting hyperspace at comm buoy GreenStar nymph ID number 7, and you exit hyperspace. Immediately you hear this ping overhead, and Mr. Tim puts through the comms and the intercoms the comm buoys just static ping. GreenStar Communications, comm buoy, NYAPDW number 7, ping. And every like 30 seconds to a minute, that ping comes about, and Mr. Tim says, "Captains, we have arrived at the comm buoy. What I would like Harm to do is roll a D100 to see if there's any complications. You really have to roll less than a 98, so it's not likely, but
With how we've been rolling,
all right. Mr. Tim comes over to the intercom, Captain Harmon says, "All systems are activated. We have not encountered any trouble with our hyperspace transit. I detect no structural instability. All lights are green. We have entered the communications buoy orbit." What does the three of you do? Captain Max is still in cryo.
I think Dr. Rizal is having a crisis right now.
As I see you exit hyperspace, and it's like that sound when you're at a movie theater, right? He just, everything comes back in a rush. Oni, what do you do as you exit hyperspace?
Oni's probably wondering whether he has eggs in him.
He's
And how
searching
they
around.
got there. Who put those there? Oh my God. Is it
Captain
Dr.
Harm.
Rizal? Is he hiding them?
Captain Harm, you got a paranoid Oni and a glazed Dr. Rizal. You're the only one who's on his feet. What do you do as you exit hyperspace?
Is there any way, like, do stim packs help with that or no?
No, it will just help. It will just help Max when he exits
Okay,
cryo.
I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
So I'm trying to think. So with Oni, I'm probably gonna end up being like, I'm trying to figure out if religion would probably like help him be less paranoid, or if it would make him more paranoid at this point. I guess with Oni, I'll probably just ask him about like theology or something, to be like, hey, maybe this will get your mind off things and focus on like what you're normally doing.
Okay.
Yes, I must center.
So the lid to Captain Max's cryo pops. Captain Max, you're shaking. Even though you don't necessarily care about a core top body temperature, your systems has been dropped to the lowest limit, and you exit cryo. You still get cryo sick unless you take a stim pack. And what happens as you exit cryo?
Max as he kind of leans up out of his tube and he goes to kind of put his feet on the ground and kind of get up out of the chamber, he stumbles and kind of falls to his knees and is very just disoriented, out of it, confused. Because for an android, I mean, we don't use cryo sleep, so I'm assuming all of these feelings to him are like very new, and he's just like very confused about like why he feels the way he does. And as he goes to get up, he maybe throws up. He just like feels very nauseated almost, but he's confused as to what like feeling nauseous is like, and he just
It's morning sickness.
yeah.
Throw up,
Throws up.
throw up, and make a body save for cryo sickness.
Ooh, my body is not very high.
No.
I've not passed a save this whole game. Yeah, and the trend continues.
How come it rolled twice?
It only rolled
Only one showed up.
once. Yeah, on mine.
Oh, I have
No,
it
I
twice.
saw 4 dice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw 4, but only one showed up on chat.
Yeah, it only shows the high number, or the
Oh.
number that it takes. It looks like you rolled at
Oh.
advantage because it took the lowest number. So you could just check it if you.
Oh, I did roll advantage. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I was just checking, like, making sure that it wasn't. You don't have to re-roll. You're good.
That doesn't matter. I have not passed a roll. I think I've maybe passed
So,
3. this
Captain
entire-
Max like rolls out, stumbles out of cryo, immediately throws up on the floor. It's just this white, milky substance. not like any vomit you all have seen before. No chunks to it, no colors, no yellows and blues and reds. It's just white, like skim milk. Do you all say anything to him as he exits it cryo?
Oni will hold his hair back.
I'll probably just silently, like, once he's done, hand him a stim pack. Just be like, here.
You can take a stim pack or you can hold it and wait to decide. Cryo sickness lasts a little while, just put you at disadvantage on rolls for, I think, 7 days. And so you exit into the space around the comm buoy, GreenStar comm buoy, NYPYD number 7. Mr. Tim comes over to intercom and says, Captain and crew, we are now out of fuel. I have put us in a good drift pattern. Hopefully we won't hit anything. What are your instructions? Shall I send a message to Nakatomi Corporation?
Max will get up and kind of wipe his face. And Mr. Tim, yes. Can you please contact me?
Do you wish for me to use names, as Captain Alexander took this job to begin with, or shall I just give a designation?
No, don't give him any specifics. No.
Okay. Captain says, Roger that, Captain Max, and there's some fresh bread in the galley. Might help your nausea, and I will send the message right away. There's going to be about 5 to 7 days before you get a response. Mr. Tim connects with the comm buoy and sends a message to Nakatomi Corporation that you recovered the artifacts as required, and you wish to do handover procedure and accept payment. But it's going to take a while. In those 5 to 7 days, I would expect you to do some stress reduction.
Yes, please. I'm currently at 19 out of 2.
I'm at 20 out of 2.
And because there's time, you have this time. Maybe the first day you're really hoping they'll get back to you right away, they get back. But you realize as you come through this hyperspace that this type of communication can take a while before the corporation gets by. And even though the Bishop Gambit is drifting around the comm station, in this kind of sort of orbit, just kind of sitting there, you have this time to reflect and reduce stress. So I ask each of you how to do that, and you make a roll and you reduce your stress by the tens number, whatever that roll is. If you're successful, you use whatever body roll, sanity roll, whatever you would do to reduce that stress, physical, mental, that sort of thing. So Captain Harm,
I was just going to offer Oni is willing to give Tai Chi lessons.
and you can help each other if you want. Oni wants to give you Tai Chi lessons, and so he would roll intellect plus theology to maybe be successful first. And if you wanted to do that, realize that Tai Chi is a very particular thing. You'd have to roll your sanity, not body, with advantage if you want to do Tai Chi with Oni.
I'll do that.
Yeah, for instance, my sanity is much better than my body roll, so.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a pretty good sanity too. I guess I'll do that too.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of want to do that because, like, Harm would probably want to do something physical for that to, like, reduce stress. So.
Right.
But-
If Harm wanted to do something physical to relieve stress, how would Captain Harm do that? Like, Oni offers to do Tai Chi, but, it just looks like yoga. That's not that hard.
True.
What would Captain Harm do instead if he was going to do something physical to relieve stress?
We don't have a, like, sandbag or, like, just a bag to, like, a punching bag or anything, do we? We don't have one of
No,
those.
I mean, you
No.
don't need necessarily a gym on board because the whole
True.
ship is a gym. You could go and do all sorts of acrobatics and
We do, like, run laps around the ship or something and, like do, like, climbing and just, like, running, just, like,
Sure.
up, down,
Okay.
like, just circling the ship, I guess.
so you burn off some steam doing physical activity as a Marine, getting your body back into shape, even though you exit hyperspace pretty good. I would have you roll body plus athletics, I think. Ooh, what happens, Harm? Why doesn't that work for you?
It probably doesn't work because, like, he, like, even though he follows orders, he probably, like, is slightly just like there's just a little nagging piece of his brain that's just like thinking about the Max situation and just like it's spewing him off just a little bit, you know.
Every time he's alone, he's looking over his shoulder like something's gonna pop out at you, something's gonna come through the ceiling. He can't really get into working out because he's a little bit too thinking about that part, thinking about Max. Where are these eggs? You know, are they in Max? Maybe they're somewhere else. Just can't relax, can't get into his physical fitness. So Oni, you're gonna teach Tai Chi, you said?
Yes.
Okay, so first see if you're gonna give him bonus. First make a probably intellect with theology roll because you're trying to teach them something, even though it's motion related.
Sure. Yeah. There's definitely a mind component too.
And I think that would be your stress roll because you're teaching maybe a stress reduction during this period of time these days.
Sure. This sounds about correct. And normal, I take it?
Yeah, it's normal for you.
Oh my god. We all are failing.
Why is that, Oni?
My students are not paying attention. And they're annoying.
I don't know what to say. As he's trying to teach me, I'm giving him a lecture about how stretching is good, and I'm focused on the science versus the actual act. I'm like,
Yeah, Dr. Rizal is just bantering back and forth because he can't keep his mouth shut. You know, he's talking science and facts and studies and, you know, short twitch, fast twitch, long twitch, muscle sarcomere length. Like he's going over the physics of it and he just doesn't get the metaphysical part. But I would have Dr. Rizal roll a body save. I would probably have him roll a body save with pathology maybe as he's talking through this.
I think we're just arguing at this point.
The hyperspace argument has just followed you to whatever you're doing Tai Chi, going back and forth, back and forth. Captain Max, do you partake in the Tai Chi?
No, I think Max is going to go to the galley and try to
Eat
try to
warm
find
bread.
any form of cigarettes or beer, even though they don't really have an effect. But he needs to just sit down and have a contemplative moment.
Okay. Mr. Tim says, Captain Max, shall we play chess again?
No, I'm not really in the mood, Mr. Tim. But I
That's
do
too
have
bad.
I do have a joke for you.
You do? Oh,
Yeah,
please tell. I will pay attention and try to get it.
Knock knock, Mr. Tim.
Knock knock.
Please enter.
Yeah, it's not the alien because we don't know where it's at.
Oh, I get it.
But I do appreciate you trying to cheer me up, Mr. Tim. Do you know of any what do humans use to relax? Any maybe cigarettes or alcohol anywhere on the ship? Maybe in the galley?
There's probably alcohol. I don't think it would affect you as a.
No, he's
You
just
can
trying
drink
to
it.
have.
You could
Yeah.
try that social nature of drinking it, but it won't have an effect on you.
That's all he's really searching for is just like to maybe just find something to sip on and
Right.
just maybe stare out of a window into space.
Okay. I think you would make just a straight sanity roll, Captain Max.
Out of game?
Yeah.
Oh my. Yes, we've all failed.
Well, yeah, my stress is at 20, so doing good, feeling good, not stressed at all.
Go ahead.
Question. Not out of game. Well, what is Max drinking? Whiskey, vodka?
Yeah. Probably some kind of whiskey.
It's engineering hooch. It's
Ooh.
brown, but it's made back in engineering because you could ferment anything, even little things of ketchup and mustard if you just let it go long enough.
Torpedo juice.
Right. He's found some engineering hooch in this plastic container and maybe there's a little bit of filings on the bottom and
If there was some kind of creature incubating within him, how would it react then to that ingestion?
I don't think it would react at all because Max's metabolism would just
filter it. Yeah.
Right. It immediately degrades the alcohol into a water and non-noxious substance. So you all are trying to reduce stress as you're circling the comm buoy, waiting for a response for Nakatomi. You're not very successful. In fact, it makes things worse. You're on edge. Difficult. Go ahead.
One maybe last-ditch effort to reduce stress for everybody. As we're circling this comm buoy, Max will kind of bring the hooch to where everybody's at. I guess everybody's doing
Sure.
his class and kind of just try to have, like, I don't know, I guess like a family moment, kind of just, bring everybody together with the hooch. And I don't know if Max ended up finding a pack of cigarettes or if anyone smokes, but he'll kind of put the engineering hooch and the cigarettes on the table.
Okay.
At this point, Oni has reached rock bottom. He'll smoke. He'll smoke anything.
You smoke and drink, Oni?
Rock bottom? Yeah.
All right. How about you, Captain Harm?
Probably not quite at rock bottom yet, so I'll hold off because Harm has had some issues earlier with alcoholism. So he's like, I'm not at that level stressed yet.
Okay. Dr. Rizal, Oni comes in and Max has this engineering hooch and everything is just bad. Do you join in with Oni and Captain Max?
Mechanically, if we were to partake, this is out of character, this would be a body save, right?
It would be a body save, but there would be you wouldn't lose if you fail it, you wouldn't get more stress. There will be a minimum amount of stress that is taken away. So even if you fail your body save, you're going to get some stress reduction from community. And so I'm not going to leave it just for a roll. Captain Max has decided to try to bring people together with alcohol and whatever. And so you're going to get some stress reduction. If you make your body save and you get like an 8 on the 10s, you'll get more of it. And you can tell me how that happens. But I think minimally you'll get at least 2 stress reduction if you partake. The roll will just be for flavor if you get more than 2.
Well, thank you, Captain Max. This is much appreciated. Your sense of community is honored.
Of course, Oni. I only just met you, and you're new to the ship, but I'm sorry. I really am that I brought you into this mess. I don't really know necessarily how to fix it, but the least I could do is try to bring everybody together. And Dr. Rizal, I know you two are new to this mess, and I kind of brought this on you guys, but I was trying to save Ace, Harm, Dr. No Hands, and at the time it was the only feasible way to do it. And I do apologize. But we are a crew nonetheless, and I expect to, as a crew, to figure out a way out of this.
I would give you all a lecture about how alcohol and smoking will reduce our lives. But at the way that we're going, we may die anyway, so fuck it.
If there are smokes, Harm would probably smoke instead of drinking.
Sure.
But he'll just end up being like, well, at least it's better than the time my brother got involved with that fighting gambling ring thing. So fuck it.
Dr. Rizal, do you partake in smokes and the alcohol or just smokes?
I'll do both.
Okay. So Max, Oni, and Dr. Rizal, make a body save.
It's not gonna be good.
I failed mine.
Yep, that was foreseen.
Everyone fails. Wow. So each of you, make sure you didn't take that stress for that failure. So drop it down 1. And
Mine's
then
already maxed.
Yeah, mine's maxed.
take 2 stress reduction just from community. Those of you who smoke, roll a 1d4.
And being an android, do I have to do it too or no?
The book doesn't say, so I think that you could roll 1.
1d4.
For some reason, it rolled ace. So the minimum you would take is 2. If you rolled above 2, take that much stress reduction. If you roll below 2, just take 2 for smoking. And you at some point are gonna Jones for some more. You smoke on it, you realize, wow, this is some good stuff. Maybe
Is this not the hashish?
your vision goes a little bit. It smells a little bit. I don't remember tobacco being smelling like this. And you get stress reduction. You're there at the table, probably in the galley, doing some community and stress reduction when Mr. Tim's voice come over to intercom. Crew and captains, I don't mean to interrupt, but a ship has just appeared in the space around the comm buoy and is hailing us.
Good. Hail him back.
I have, but they are asking to speak to members of the crew. Would any of the captains and the crew like to come to Pilot House and have a discourse with this other captain?
I think we all should, right?
All right. I'll probably just grab Prander and just drape him all over my shoulder.
I totally forgot about it.
Just like wearing it like a backpack. Let's go.
Prander like puts his arms around you and says, "God, I hope I get my legs soon."
Well, hopefully
ta-
you will
I'll take
after,
another swig.
after this conversation that we have.
I'll make a convert. They're like, "Hey, you look like you lost some weight."
So
Oh
everyone,
me.
I'll look at Prander and go, well, if things keep going the way they do, maybe you can have my legs.
so you go up to the pilot house, and the blast hyperspace doors are open. You see a ship off in the distance. It's hard to see really because of space. It's so big, but you notice this little gleam or starlight, or you could see that shape in there. Mr. Tim says they are hailing us again, but just so the crew and captain, they are saying that they are a AS Sato GS transport ship, but their lineal number does not indicate that it's true, and they have locked on torpedoes from midship, which isn't normal configuration nor possible with a AS Sato GS ship. Shall I open the comms?
Yes, Mr. Tim, please open comms.
And so you hear this little ping, ping. This is Bishop Gambit making connection to unknown ship. And you have this little grainy black and white thing, and you see this big face come on. It nearly fills up the whole thing. Got this big gray beard and slick back hair and thin glasses. Hoi, how are you? My name's Wilhelm Doe.
Willem, we've been better, but we have the Nakatomi artifact on board.
Nakatomi? I'm not from Nakatomi. I'm making a transport run.
Who are you? Where are you from?
Where am I from? I'm from Wesley Station. I'm going to Moda 7.
You wouldn't happen to have any medical facilities on your ship, would you?
No, I'm just a simple transport. You get this
Well-
little red light that's blinking on the console. Blink, 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 blink.
Will you please take us off your torpedo? lock?
Torpedoes? What torpedoes? Mr. Tim mutes contact and says, "Pretend you're not speaking. We have torpedo lock from the ship. It is definitely not a Sato GS transport ship. The configuration is wrong. The numbers don't match. The whole number is different. And we have 3 torpedoes locked at our present situation. I'm almost positive it's an Arma 9 mercenary ship returning non-mute status. I have no
I'm
idea
sorry.
what you mean."
I've had a little bit to drink.
Oh,
Out of character, don't we want to try to get these guys to give us some fuel or something like that? So we need them to come aboard, right?
They are
Well-
mercenaries, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say out of character,
Could go
there's a
either
chance
way.
they're gonna kill us either way. So
And I did tell them we had the artifact on board on accident.
yeah,
Maybe I'm not the best captain.
So
Mr.
how do
Tim.
you guys want to play this, right?
Yeah, Mr.
We
Tim.
don't have weapons on our boat, and it's not like we
no.
can fire back or survive. We're literally a sitting duck.
But if we have the artifact on the ship, they have to get on the ship to get it at least.
That is
You have
true.
to offer them something enticing enough for them to come on the ship without blowing it up.
Yeah, we have the
So
artifact.
why don't we just proceed as like, hey, we're ready to do the trade. This is a very high value object, right?
Android,
we were-
Android Max, can you hide the artifact? Perhaps internally.
With the other valuable package you're carrying.
they are too big.
It's like, why are you walking around so stiffly?
I don't know about putting a scepter.
The
Me.
scepter definitely is too big. The hook, the trephaning hook is probably way too famous. I mean, the little black iridescent bubbles in the metallic bag, maybe he could hide a few of those inside, but
Unfortunately, I am not a sword swallower or not too keen on the other way of putting it in. But
Oh,
we
I
could-
apologize. I apologize, Android Max. I have not seen these artifacts.
so the crew is in this position where Mr. Tim tells you that whatever this ship is, it's not what it seems. It's locked torpedoes on from its midship position, which can't be configured to a AS Sato GS. It's likely an Arma 9 military mercenary ship of some nature. The captain Wilhelm Dow asks a whole lot of questions before Mr. Tim mutes and maybe gives an excuse that we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll get it sorted out, and he creates a little static in the comms as you all are trying to figure out what they have to do.
While he does that, can I ask him, Mr. Tim, how far has Nakatomi, have they responded, or Did I
No,
get
you've not
an
received.
ETA?
You've not received any messages from Nakatomi Corporation through the comm buoy.
But what are the odds that Nakatomi sent them to retrieve the artifact? But he said he didn't know.
Mr. Tim cannot calculate those odds, Andrew and Max. He just kind of fuddles around and uncertain.
Sorry, that was more of a inner dialogue.
Sure.
Maybe, well, this is to the general crew. Like maybe they don't have medical facilities, so there's no way of doing any kind of.
Well, we don't know
X-ray.
that. We don't know if they do or not. It could be
It
lying
is
to
a
us.
mercenary ship.
Could be lying.
I
It's
think personally, like since we're speaking out of character, personally, I think that our best shot at survival is to somehow bring them on board. Even though they're mercenaries, we also have weapons. Maybe we could talk to them. Maybe we could talk it through. But being at torpedo range and they could fire on us, that's pretty much it. Salvage our ship or whatever. But yeah, I don't really know what else we can do with at a distance.
We also
Oh.
don't know how many are on the ship.
That's true.
My guess
They
would be
could-
like close to a full crew, at least.
How big is
Well,
the ship? Is you're describing it? I mean, it's a pretty sizable ship.
An Arma 9 mercenary ship is about as big as it can be kitted out to take a whole regiment of Marines. I would imagine that Captain Harm has traveled on similar kind of ships if the Marines were ever loaned to, and there are probably independent contractors that Captain Harm may have traveled. An Arma 9 ship can carry anywhere from 1 or 2 or 3 regiments, which could be anywhere from 30 to 90 Marines if it's kitted out correctly. It could be a small crew of 12 at least. Captain Harm would probably say if they're mercenaries in a concealed hull, anywhere from 15 to 20 in the least.
To say the least, this is not a fair fight if either way.
Yeah,
But
Like
they could
no-
capture us. They could kill us. They could blow us
we
up.
do have the grenades. We take them in the airlock. Maybe we rig the grenades up somehow in the airlock if things don't go our way. I'll go into the airlock. Or maybe we all go into the air. I'm not sure how we do it, but if we rig the airlock to explode with the grenades, surely, and we get Willem down there, he won't be willing to risk his life for whatever we have, and at least hear us out, or maybe try to
Oh.
figure this out.
Maybe we could also try to convince them that we're not worth anything, and they could just pass us by.
Well, I did tell him we had the artifact.
What did
Yeah,
you
you
say?
did do that.
exactly?
That might be a problem.
What exactly did you say, Android Max?
I had a lapse of judgment and I did tell him that we had the Nakatomi artifact.
Oh,
I thought it was them coming through the, I guess, gate or warp gate or whatever. Yeah, not my best judgment. I'm not myself lately.
perhaps we can negotiate with them for a peaceful transition of said artifact if they release some fuel to us for us to peacefully go on our way.
If we do that, we also lose the artifact that Nakatomi sent us to get.
Is it not our lives that are at risk?
It is, and it is my duty to, well, preserve the life of the crew and the new crew.
Tough choice.
But how do I ensure that they're not just going to take the artifact
True.
when they get on the ship by force?
They can.
They may have the numbers, they may have the firepower, they may have everything.
Who have we reached out to once we reached this array? Have we contacted the company, Nakatomi?
Yeah, you sent out the message to Nakatomi that you had the artifact and needed to establish contact to arrange the exchange.
So the mercenaries haven't intercepted that signal, but Nakatomi still knows and should be arriving. Perhaps we can delay until Nakatomi can actually arrive in time. Hopefully. Perhaps Oni can teach them.
Go ahead, sorry.
Perhaps Oni can teach them Tai Chi. No? But delay action. Delay action.
Delay
I-
action is
Oni, I don't think they're going to want to sit down and have a Tai Chi session.
I was gonna
I think
say
to be the giving, well, not really the giving, but more of the taking aspect.
Oni is not familiar with this type of people. Well, that's not exactly true, but anyways.
They're probably the type to shoot first, ask questions later. So
Mr. Tim
so,
says,
uh,
they're hailing us again. What should we do? The crew also probably gets a sense that I think Android Max and Dr. Rizal would know that Mr. Tim being able to determine that this ship was not what it seemed is not usual. That's just an aside. Not usual. Not usual. But Mr. Tim says they keep hailing at us repeatedly, and I've been stalling. What are your orders, captains and crew?
Harm,
I think we have something to trade,
Okay.
and I'll kind of like present to the crew. I've been keeping this from y'all, and I present my spray can. While what's in here may look like a spray can, I like unhook the bottom. Within are like the vials of my biological masterpiece. It's a biological weapon that I've been working on.
You're going to suggest trading that for gas
I'm going to hold them hostage for a cure.
once you infect them and they get on board?
That's the plan. That's what I was thinking. I don't know. Like how else would you stop an armada of Marines by or threatening biological warfare on them?
what if we find a way to sneak it onto their ship, maybe trade it, and find a way to detonate it on their ship, infect all of them, and save us from whatever your biological weapon, well, not really me, but
Okay.
y'all.
So I would need time to work on, say, an antidote for whatever creation this is, and I don't know. And this is of course as far as how far you want to take it,
In the
because it is a story prop that I just came up with. So I
in
don't
the
know.
rapid scrambling to come up with an idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is an option that we can do, or we could try something else. But against all odds, like I'm thinking, like infecting one of them, and it's a bioweapon, so it should spread.
So Dr. Rizal offers a bioweapon. Captain Max offers exchange of an artifact. You actually have 3 for fuel. Oni offers metaphysical contact and reasoning. And those are the 3 kind of ideas up there at the moment. What are you going to go to when Mr. Tim opens comms?
I like the bioweapon idea. I would like to maybe find a way for them to take it back on their ship and then detonate it to, I don't know, but I don't know. If
My
we
question is, how do we stall for time while we figure that out?
I was just gonna stick him with a freaking syringe. I was gonna stick him with a syringe and just be like, "Hey, you're infected now."
But how
I
do
have
we
the
make
antidote.
sure? Well, how do we make sure we infect a person that is importance to them? Because if we don't infect someone who matters, then they're just going to be like, oh, well, that's Joe. All he does is wash
Yeah.
dishes. That guy
They're
doesn't matter.
pirates. Yeah, they're pirates. Each of them are expendable to the next one.
So we have to make sure we get Willem on board and we inject Willem with it.
Unless somebody does go over to their ship to make the handoff.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Tim, I can't stall him any longer. Weapons lock has been achieved. They are rotating to fire trajectory. I would suggest we open comms before they get squirrely on us.
Whoa. Mr. Tim, can you hail them? Please.
So Mr. Tim pops up and the screen lightens up and Wilhelm Dell goes, "Aye, there you are. You get lost?"
Willem, we have something that might be of interest to you, but I'm only willing to give it to you and a few others because it is of utter importance. But you have to unlock your weapons. And yes, I do know.
We don't have any weapons. We're
You
just here
know,
for a stopover.
Willem, no, cut the bullshit. I know you have weapons locked on us. We may be a ragtag team, and the Bishop Gambits may be jerry-rigged together, but we have sensors, and it is picking up what you have locked on us.
He scowls a little bit, and you see him grate his teeth, and then his face changes. He kind of sits up, and it's almost like he's crossing his shoulders. and his voice changes, gets very clipped, loses the accent, and says, Bishop's Gambit, what do you have to trade? Understand that we will blow you out of the sky unless we come to an agreement. We want no trouble. We're just on our way to Matat 7.
So, is your name even William?
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but I do like to know who I'm doing deals with in the courtesy of honesty. How do I know you can keep your word if I don't know that you can't even tell me who you are?
If we wished you to be dead, you would already be in little chunks spread across the space of this comm buoy. We are indeed making a soiree for needed hyperspace exit. Our trip is long, and we wish not to be identified. If we can come to an agreement, then there will be no trouble. You will forget about us, and we will forget about you.
That's fair. I do believe at this particular juncture we do need you more than you need us. But I'm only willing to make a deal with you.
And what would that deal entail?
Seeing how you're a mercenary, mercenaries need protection, they need weapons, correct?
No, we provide protection with weapons.
You can't provide protection without weapons, and we have a weapon.
He kind of thinks about it. And he goes, what would you have that we would not already have on board this ship?
Putting it mildly, a bioweapon.
He
that can
turns
make
around and
first.
he goes mute, and you see his mouth moving. Then he comes back to you and goes, and what do you wish to trade for this bioweapon?
All we ask is maybe a few gallons of fuel, anything you could spare.
I think we're gonna need more than a few gallons.
A few.
No.
I don't even know what the metric is, but I'm pretty sure it's not a couple of gallons.
Mr. Tim's voice come over the intercom. We need three fuel cells to make it to Siesta 3. Captain's 3 fuel cells.
3 fuel cells to get us where we need to go.
And Wilhelm kind of looks at you and he goes, how can we be sure this is a bioweapon? By what means did you procure this weapon?
I have a doctor, a very smart, intelligent doctor.
And who may that be?
So I gotta introduce myself. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Jose Rizal.
You see
This
him
is
turn.
This
He
is of my
repeats your
product.
name. You
Yeah.
repeat your name. We are investigating your name. We will contact you shortly. Tweak, and the screen goes dead. You sit there for about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and all of a sudden it comes back on light. We've been hailed again. And Wilhelm is sitting there and goes, Dr. Rizal,
That is I.
why would I accept a bioweapon rather than just collect the bounty on your head?
The bioweapon is priceless. That is why. It could be
Adam.
duplicated and manufactured, and it is priceless.
Max is going to look up and tell Tim to just cut comms very shortly and look at Dr. Resolve and go, there's a bounty on you?
That's not important right now, is it?
It is. If they take the... You know what? You're right. If there's a bounty on your head, they still have to come aboard. And he'll unmute the comms.
Does Oni or Captain Harm add anything during this exchange?
Shocked, stunned, and a little bit surprised.
You're surprised that Dr. Rizal has a bounty on his head?
Honestly, at this point, Harm has been part of the Marines long enough to be like, you know what, this kind of tracks. Like, okay.
He puts it in his little notebook. Dr. Rizal, bounty. If shit goes bad, I can collect on that. Okay, so you reopen comms with Wilhelm Dow, or who says it's Wilhelm Dow, and he looks at Dr. Rizal and he goes, we agree. You will come aboard with your shuttle. We will give you 3 fuel cells and you will transfer the product to us.
Oh, what happened?
Have we reached an agreement then? Oh, drop. Oni and Captain Harm, you good with that?
I think this seems... Yes, please, Harm.
I mean, I'm probably realistically, I'm probably fine with that, but I'll probably be like, if he needs backup, I could go with him. Like, that's fine.
Okay, Dr. Rizal, you agree to take the shuttle over to their ship and
Okay.
trade 3 fuel cells for the bioweapon.
Yeah. Okay. I think how do I ensure my own survival?
I think Oni can help you with that. It's probably something called prayer.
Yeah.
Oni
So-
will do his best and pray for you. He will send positive waves. Karma shall be your friend.
Yeah. I was hoping I could create an antidote to my own freaking catastrophe before I go over there.
Are you going to
In seconds.
are you going to attempt to only give them some of it or all of it?
So let me ask you this. How far creatively can I take this bioweapon?
That's just we might do it mechanically, but it's not out of reason. The original crew, fled a bleeder's plague, and there are, even in Mothership, a lot of their modules are around this sort of idea of plague, poison, toxin, research stations that went south. And so it's not unreasonable that Dr. Rizal could not have some sort of remainder of one of those stations. So I think it's playable. Like it's a very common module theme. I've read at least three modules that have this very specific entity in it.
And they might be Black Ops related.
Yeah. So, being this is his life's work, I don't think he would give all of the vials without keeping some for himself.
Okay.
And I'm almost even thinking that maybe he would inject himself with it purposely as kind of like a safeguard. So if they kill him, that would spread. If they let him go, he wouldn't die immediately. Gives him time to extract and possibly create a vaccine.
Okay.
But then there's a chance of spreading it back to the crew.
So
So it's kind of like, yeah, there's nothing stopping them from taking the vials and also taking him.
okay. So Dr. Rizal and Captain Harm are going to load up on the Spider Shuttle to transit to the fake Sato GS transport ship, which actually is an Arma 9 mercenary ship, to effect the transport. Let me do one thing. I forgot. I got to let my cat out of the door.
Shall Oni come along as well in case he can provide assistance with any kind of role?
Let's just be real with the situation, right? This is pretty much a death, like a death run. A
Right.
suicide
So
mission.
I might as well come along then.
Well, what I
If
was going to
anything-
do, oddly enough, is bring Karma into it a little bit
Yeah.
and have Oni make a metaphysical roll with theology and see if karma favors the group. If Oni makes some sort of positive metaphysical roll, then they might get advantage on a roll in the future, since you mentioned it. And so as Captain Harm and Dr. Rizal are processing to get onto the shuttle, Dr. Rizal is getting his product. I imagine Harm is kitting himself out. Oni is trying to provide metaphysical support, even if Dr. Rizal doesn't believe in all that mumbo jumbo. Captain Max, you're in the pilot house. Do you do anything specific?
I'm going to tell Harm and Resolve, whatever you two do, make sure you get back to the ship.
We'll try.
I don't need it. I try. We need you. The ship needs you. You're a part of this crew.
You know what?
Despite
You're right.
Your
Just make sure you wait for me.
Ace already tried to be a hero. Okay.
If I'm not back in like 30 minutes, continue waiting for me.
So Captain Harm and Dr. Rizal go to the Spider Shuttle. Oni is there maybe as the airlock door is going to close and seal, and Dr. Rizal and Captain Harm are going to detach to transit to the Arma 9 mercenary role. Oni, what does it look like while you're trying to invoke karma or good vibes, or that somewhere in the universe, if you do this, that you can affect an outcome with positive thinking, I guess. What does it look like when Oni attempts that?
He reaches in within his orange robes and pulls out a small little vial and opens it up and puts his thumb through the vial and then puts a line across both of their foreheads with red ochre.
Okay. What does it smell like?
Like soil, red ochre.
Okay. And
It's grounding. Yes.
is there any words, or is it just all a physical motion?
There is some incantation that is muttered under sub-audible.
Okay. Like inside him.
Yes, kind of like a throat breathing, that kind of that rumbling kind of.
Okay.
It's inspiring. It's meant to inspire and ground and
Make a intellect with theology roll.
This just
At-
turned into the Lion King.
at
Did it-
advantage.
I said this just turned into the Lion King.
Moana. Sorry.
Hakuna Matata.
Get him
Everything's
killed
gonna
by
be
like
alright.
a wilderness situation. I think we're okay.
Hakuna Matata.
So Captain Harmon, Dr. Rizal, Oni is there, this droning chant inside him, and he reaches up with his thumb, puts this red line. He probably catches you off guard. Like you have no
It's like-
idea he's doing that. Like Dr. Rizal, you kind of bat him away a little bit.
But Oni succeeds.
Right. What does Captain Harm do as this red line gets on his forehead?
He'll kind of just nod and thanks and just be like, say to Prander, be like, Prander, if I don't come back and you somehow manage to find my brother, I want him to do right by you, like I want to try to do right by you now.
What's his name, Captain Harm? What's his name?
His name is Hex. Never said my parents were exactly good namers. They liked the H theme, I guess.
Arm
Does-
and Hex.
Is Hex your twin? Does he look exactly like you?
He looks pretty darn similar, yes.
I will do that, but you're gonna come back, Harm. You're gonna come back. I mean, I'm almost can tell. Look, you got red on your forehead. I don't know what that means, but you know. So, Dr. Rizal, Captain Harm, you get into the spider shuttle. The airlock seals. You hear the mechanism jolt and jangle and scratch and hiss and terrible sounds because it is a addition to the thing.
The red line represents singularity.
Singularity. And you transition to the other ship. The spider shuttle flips over on itself. Its 6 legs reach out and pull you into the airlock just forward of midshifts. You feel it attach. You're jolted in your seat, and the airlock seals, and then you have this green light.
Yeah, before the door opens. Who's in the shuttle?
You and Captain Harm.
I say to Harm, make sure you get the fuel cells back, and good luck to us both. And I'm like holding the syringe and the stim pack.
And you inject right then?
Yeah,
Okay. Captain
The
Harm.
only-
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Rizal.
yeah. I was gonna give them just the one vial.
Captain Harm, you see Dr. Rizal inject himself with God knows what.
Oh my god!
What does Captain Harm say anything?
He'll probably just raise an eyebrow questioningly, but not say anything because he has seen sacrifice before and knows what it means. So,
Okay. So the airlock opens. Your airlock opens. The ship's airlock opens. It's round. You look in there and you see a relatively tall man. Wilhelm Dow is broad, to say the least. He's maybe 6'2". There's not an ounce of fat on him. Not that you could tell, but he's wearing completely black. He's carrying nothing, no weapon, no anything. But behind him are like 3 guys dressed out in complete black combat gear with helmets, goggles, and eyesights. And past them, you see one guy with a sniper rifle standing up over there. And Captain Harm, you knew immediately that this group is professional. They wear no insignia. They're dressed completely in black. They're probably Black Star or some other mercenary unit. Their kit is better than yours, and the 2 of you are dead if things don't go right. You might last a little while, but you're a little bit questionable that even if you took a pot shot at Wilhelm Dow, that it just wouldn't hit whatever armor he's wearing underneath him. He's standing there in front, maybe 3 or 4 steps in front of him, and he cocks his head and he goes, Dr. Rizal, do you have the product?
So I take open and I open the vial in my hand. It's like, it's right here. Extremely dangerous. Wouldn't want to drop it in case one of your men have any itchy trigger fingers. You
Oh,
know the
that will-
cost that we are asking for. Bring the fuel cells over and you may have it.
Like he looks to the side and you see these 3 fuel cells. They're like big briefcases. They're probably a foot wide, 2 feet tall, 2 feet deep. They're lined up in front of him. And he looks at you and he just makes a motion.
No. And I look over. Go ahead, Harm. Go get it. I'm not athletic enough to make it to the ship from this point of view. But let us get the fuel cells first before we hand you the vial.
I'll kind of just start moving forward, just cautiously, and me like just making sure that he'll actually let me do so
Yeah, he
before moving.
he doesn't do anything. He cocks his head a little bit, but it seems meaningless to him. You're dead by rights. If you screw up here, he blows your ship out of the sky. The trade is going to happen. Like, what are you going to do? Steal the fuel cells from him? It doesn't phase him at all. Like, he's just kind of standing there looking at you, Captain Harm, as you maybe walk up, and he looks over at you and he says, "What unit?"
450th.
Not bad, not bad. I was in the 633rd at the G cell, but that was a long time ago.
Understood.
And Wilhelm Dow just watches you pick up the fuel cells. They're really heavy. They're like 100 pounds a piece because of the way they're made. You have to pick up maybe one or two and you go struggling back to the ship. Well, maybe you don't struggle because you're this Captain Harmon. You struggle back with these 200 pounds of fuel cell and put two of them down. And you have to go back to get the third one. And during that process, Wilhelm Dow doesn't move an inch. The guys behind him don't even quiver. They're just standing there, hands about here, above their belt line, and the guy in the back with the Seeker smart rifle just not pinned on you, just pinned right at the top of Dr. Rizal's head. You retrieve the third fuel cell, and just as you walk past Dr. Rizal, Wilhelm Dell looks at Dr. Rizal and gives him another wave.
Okay. I pass Harm. Hurry up and get to the ship. If things go bad, don't wait up for me. And I walk forward.
You walk forward, and you're standing in front of Wilhelm Dow. You get maybe 3 or 4 feet. You're not within striking distance of him before he puts up his hand. Like, you're too far to do a roundhouse kick. You're just out of range for you, maybe not for him, but you're definitely out of range for you. And he puts up his hand, and he looks over his shoulder, and one of the guys at the back puts down a black case, opens it up, and kicks it towards you, and it goes sliding past him. And the black case is open. It's cushioned inside, and he looks at you and says, "Put the article in the case and close it, and you may be on your way."
It's been a pleasure doing business. I put it in the case.
And then
And
before
instead of kicking it back, I leave it there and I walk backwards.
he goes, "Dr. Rizal, one moment, please. Is that all of it?"
That's all that you need.
You probably get a little bit of a smile out of it. He just nods his head. "That would be it, then. That would be it. On your way. And the agreement stands. You did not see us. We did not see you. If that doesn't pan out, then, well, life becomes very short."
Life is always short.
He probably chuckles a little bit. Dr. Rizal is the only one to hear him say, "Damn Marines." He shakes his head a little. Dr. Rizal, do you do anything before leaving?
I think he did everything that he wanted to. I think he will blindly turn his back to the captain in hopes he doesn't get shot in the back and slowly walk back to the shuttle.
You go back to the shuttle, nothing happens. The airlock doors close. You reseal.
And as soon as the shuttle closes, I'm like, holy shit! I damn near crapped my pants. Hurry, let's get out of here.
The shuttle
Please.
detaches.
Please,
And-
Dr. Rizal, turn off your comms.
You come back to the ship. You reconnect with the Bishop's Gambit. The airlock doors open. You come out. Oni is there, and Captain Max is in the pilot house. Mr. Tim says, "Torpedo lock has been terminated. Ship gearing up engines. Hyperspace jump imminent." And maybe 2 or 3 minutes after that, Mr. Tim audibly sighs, "The other ship has left the vicinity of space and entered hyperspace, Captain Max."
Thank you, Mr. Tim.
Dr. Rizal's going straight to his lab.
After he injected himself with the biologic thing, Dr. Rizal goes to his lab. Captain Harm, do you do anything specific?
I'll probably just go to wherever Prander is and just like kind of sit and just stare off into the wall or something.
Yeah, Prander looks at you and says, "See, I told you you would make it. I told you."
I forgot to mention, that during this whole thing that was going on, Oni was making these, those little sort of puppet legs that out of paper that has like a little accordion kind of thing, and he's attached them onto Prander, so he's got little dangly legs now.
Little paper legs.
Yes.
Paper mache.
Dr. Rizal goes to his lab because he's just injected himself with this biologic thing
And the stim pack.
and a Simpack. So he's a bit jittery and he knows he's infectious, whatever it is. And he realizes maybe I overdid it a little.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that.
Right. And Harm takes a big deep breath. Oni is finding
Blissfully unaware. Blissfully unaware.
Mr. Tim says, Captain Max, we have just received a message from Nakatomi.
Yes, Mr. Tim, please put it through.
He puts it in and you see it on the screen. It's teletype. It's not verbal. It says, meet Olindra cluster 3D. Arrive for package transfer 3 days time.
Max is just gonna kind of shake his head and kind of ball his fist up a little bit and go, these son of a bitches. The whole purpose was to do the transfer. This whole thing was null and void. Leave it to the corpos.
Right. Nakatomi expects you to to fly or go through hyperspace to the Olindra cluster and perform the package turnover on a particular planet in 3 days' time. They're not arriving here in any way, shape, or form, and they've given you coordinates on the planet with which to meet them. And
Mr. Tim, can you please transmit to them that our original agreement has just doubled?
he goes, Captain Max, do you think that is wise? This is the Nakatomi Corporation.
No, I don't think it's wise, but we do have what they want, and seeing how as we literally went out of our way to get it in, it cost a member of my crew, and we get here and they don't show up. Yeah, I think it just doubled. Matter of fact, it may have just tripled.
Sending message now. God, I hope karma does help us. And we will end there for today. Any questions or comments for me?
Do we have enough fuel to get us to where
Yes.
they're telling us to go? Oh, okay.
You have enough fuel to get there.
We got 3 gallons.
And to Siesta 3. You have enough to get there and to Siesta 3. I let you guys go. I know what they're going to do, but I let you decide what to do. I have no idea what you're going to do with them. And I let you just talk about it. And I just wait to see what you're going to do because I know who they are and what their mission is.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fun while you guys were figuring out.
We do not. They could have murdered us all.
Yeah.
I was fully
Honestly, the way
expecting.
it's been going, what's going to happen?
I was expecting them to try to take me because of the bounty.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was half expecting to die tonight because of the snipers and like just the fact that they were mercenaries. I was like, I am not like being a Marine. I'm still not equipped for that.
I think Dr. Rizal, I think the whole ship, but definitely Dr. Rizal, knowing that they knew you had a bounty on your head, but they did not collect, would be a point of concern.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to circle back around to that.
There's some
Yeah.
reason that takes precedence over them not messing around at the moment to
With
collect
you.
some piddling little bounty on Dr. Rizal, no matter how many hundreds of thousands of killer credits that may be. But
But see, that's the thing is like they didn't take the bounty, but they trusted you enough to take the bioweapon. So like you've got to be like, what?
There's got to be something
There's
there.
something you're not
Yeah.
telling us.
He's a small cog in a bigger story, in a bigger picture. Yeah.
I may have brought an alien to the ship, but you brought a bioweapon.
This is true. This is very true.